As with all secret societies, you have levels, and if you're on the lower levels, you don't even know they're upper levels. They don't even tell you. However, there was another level, and the priests didn't even know it. It's those that were involved and elevated to if I would have told you this 15 years ago, I might have gotten shot. But this is now, I'm so glad now that this is easy to talk about. The third level, which is a higher level of understanding, said, nope, it's not, that's not the sun. The sun is not the supreme deity. Nope, yes, spiritual energies come through the sun. That's not what we're talking about. What we're talking about is the star Sirius.
The dog star.
The dog star, because the dog star was everything to the ancient Egyptians.
If you had a long-lost brother or sister, would you try and find them? Of course, they are a part of you. The idea that Earth has two suns seems outlandish at first. If you look at the sky, one sun rises during the day. Why would anyone ever think that our solar system has two suns? To begin, we know very little about how our own sun, or star, came to be. Current models suggest that the solar system formed in a nebular and gas cloud are just guesses. Today, new research into star formation and dynamic galaxy systems are telling a new story. They reveal the likelihood of our sun being a binary star, having a twin or sibling. Do we really have two suns? It's a very big question. The binary star hypothesis is building momentum. So, what is the binary star partner of our sun? Everything we know about our sun relates to our calendar. It measures the Earth's orbit and other bodies in the solar system. Calendars have their roots all over the planet in ancient astronomy. Do these ancient societies understand the binary twin? Sirius mythology was the focus of ancient folklore all around the world. When we combine a modern and ancient view of the calendar system, the evidence for a Sun-Sirius star partner becomes very apparent. Could the Sirius star not only be the brightest star in the sky, but our second sun? Would it prove Sirius mythology to be real? It's a mystery that, if solved, would be a critical piece of the human origin story. Astronomy moved from an Earth-centered universe to a solar system model very slowly. In 1532, Copernicus wrote his sun-planet model, which he was too scared to publish. In 1632, Galileo was brave enough to do so. He was persecuted by the Church for his efforts. It then took 200 years until 1835 for the solar system to be finally published again. Since the 20th century, astronomers are moving towards a similar leap in human thought. It is a known fact that most stars exist in binary systems. Today, astronomy is in the pursuit of the sibling of our own sun. It could be the biggest advancement of human thought since the discovery of the solar system. Our reality is that the sun is a tiny star in a sea of potential brothers and sisters.
If we have a good look at our solar system and how it works, for instance, the moon goes around the Earth in turn is rotating and orbiting the sun. So it takes 365 days to go around the sun. Now our sun in turn is orbiting Sirius. Sirius being the brightest star in the sky and in the sector of Cancer, right near Gemini. It is in a binary with our star. And every 24,000 years we go around each other in a clockwise motion. Sirius and our sun have been going away from each other for the last couple of thousand years, and now they've turned the corner, so they're heading towards one another. As we reach the outer limits of that orbit, that elliptical orbit with our sun and Sirius, this is where the Iron Age is. The Golden Age is when they are close to each other, and then as they separate, they go through the Silver and the Bronze to the Iron Age. Well, that affects the consciousness of mankind, because we have 100% consciousness when the two stars are close to each other. The consciousness falls to 75%, 50%, and 25%. We've not enjoyed full consciousness for a long time, and many of the gifts and abilities and powers that we once had.
The dynamic universe theory explains our solar system is in a spinning spiral galaxy. Within this swirling corkscrew, stars have orbital siblings or binaries. They come from star nurseries that birth multiple star partners. Research confirms binary star systems are more normal than single systems. NASA states that 90% of stars begin with a binary partner. It also confirms that our solar system was once a binary system. We have stopped short of saying what that partner is. Let's now explore Sirius mythology alongside modern astronomy. The Gregorian calendar is the most widely used system today. It states the date as day, month, and year. Years are split into 12 months. It's designed to measure the movement of the Earth around the Sun. Time is divided in day and night, or the rotation of the Earth on its axis. Months, or the lunar cycle. And years, the rotation of the Earth around the Sun. The problem is that system doesn't quite work. Gregorian calendar years are an estimation. It uses leap years as fudging method to stop the drift between solar and lunar years. There are actually 12.37 lunar months to a solar year. That means without leap years, the calendar falls out of sync with the day and month cycles. Even with leap years, our calendar loses a day over the space of 3,200 years. This is the proof that the system does not work properly. The Gregorian calendar nearly works. Is the reason that it is out of sync due to a missing factor? Is the missing piece really that our solar system revolves around another star, otherwise known as a binary partner for the Sun? That orbit would influence the orbit of planets within our own solar system. Exactly what calendars are supposed to measure. A binary star or two-sun system could fix the Gregorian calendar. As it turns out, ancient calendar systems are more accurate.
In our elliptical orbit, if there's the Sun, our Earth will be like, in its orbit, it will be like here, closer to the Sun, 4 million miles, by the way, and it has nothing to do with summer or winter. That the Earth being closer to the Sun down here in July the 4th, January the 4th, perihelion, that has got nothing to do with the temperature, nothing at all. That's the tilt, okay? So this is perihelion, and this is aphelion. Aphelion is here, July the 4th. You know, when you get all your Independence Days, all countries around the world celebrate, whether it's Canada, you know, Venezuela, whatever, many countries around the world have their independence over here because the Sun is conjuncting Sirius. Sirius is the one who gives independence and freedom. She is the Statue of Liberty. It's Sirius, the mother of the system. She dominates the whole star system that we're in.
If we explore ancient calendars, we find different methods of measuring the solar year. The Greeks used the Hellenic calendar. There was actually no one set Hellenic calendar used across classical Greece. The calendars were different, but most used Sirius to calibrate the beginning of the year. That's the cycle that measures the rise of Sirius, also known as the dog star, known to the Greeks as Sothis. The cycle takes roughly 1,460 days, depending on what calendar system you use. It's why Sirius mythology was built into Greek philosophy. The Greek calendar didn't start the year from an arbitrary date like ours. Instead, they would observe the rise of Sirius on the dawn of the longest day of the year. Known as the summer solstice, Sirius would appear just after the moment of sunrise. This is named the heliacal rising of Sirius. The Greek system began when this moment was observed. The moment when Sirius rose like a second sun in the sky. It may explain why there was no need for leap years. The Greeks used the rise of our second sun, or binary star partner Sirius, to calibrate the solar and lunar calendars.
There's Sirius, and there's our sun, and we have an elliptic orbit, right, that we go around. Sirius also does this, like that. So there's our sun, and our Earth is going around anti-clockwise like that in its orbit. And so this would be, here would be perihelion. And here, so here the sun would be in Capricorn, and here the sun would be in Cancer. So you see what's happening is because these two stars are flying towards each other. And by the way, Sirius is hurtling towards us at 12 miles a second. She's flying towards us, man. And with that Sirius B going around it. And every time Sirius B goes around, there's havoc on the Earth. Havoc. And she's hurtling towards us. So her speed coming, she's blue shifted now, because for 12,000 years, Sirius has been observed to be red, right? When she turned the corner and they're hurtling towards each other, what's happening now is the sun is being pulled up, and of course it leaves all this drag, which is this drag here. Right? Because when the sun is in Sirius, when the sun is heading towards Sirius, and it's in that sign, it's being pulled up. That's the drag.
The Greeks weren't the first or only culture to use Sirius to begin the calendar year. The Egyptian calendar was also based on Sirius. In fact, the Greeks in all likelihood acquired the method from Egypt. In ancient Egypt, New Year's Day was signaled by the annual heliacal rising of the star Sirius. In Egyptian, it's known as Sothic. For a long time, it was thought this longer cycle was calibrated to the rise and fall of the river Nile. However, the tidal flooding of the Nile is highly unpredictable. Sirius in Egypt could be observed on the eastern horizon just before dawn on the summer solstice. The timing of its rise would determine whether an extra month with a few days would be employed that year. The rise of Sirius determined the calendar year. This method allowed for incredibly accurate date keeping. The various lunar calendars governed by a 365-day civil calendar moved forward through the season without ever being corrected throughout the entire Egyptian history. Unlike the Gregorian calendar, the seasons stayed alongside the important first day of the first month of the solar year. Around the globe, ancient cultures would have used this system for at least the last 12,000 years. Evidence could be found in archaeological sites such as Göbekli Tepe in Turkey, dated to around 10,000 BC. But this evidence is much more evident beginning with the civilizations of Sumer in ancient Egypt, the Yuga Hindu traditions of India, continuing masked in symbols in ancient Greece and Rome, then hidden for over 2,000 years, in isolated cultures like that of the Dogon tribe of Mali, the ancient Mayans of Mexico and the local populations of New Zealand, China and Japan. For them, the beginning of the year was based on the mythology of Sirius, emphasizing its importance, perhaps even a warning of a future cataclysm. By the time the Roman calendar was employed, it lost the calibration point. Without setting the year to the rise of Sirius, the imperfect leap year method was needed to stop drifting of the seasons. Ancient calendar systems could be evidence that our solar system is rotating around its binary partner Sirius.
Let's draw more lines. Yeah, we draw also these two. Now we get 12 different parts. And these are of course the eons or the ages. So we're now about to enter the period of Aquarius, the age of Aquarius, and at the other side we find the eon of Leo. And the clock of Giza is is all about this third dimension of time, about the great year. So what the pyramids builders did was show us this great year. And they gave us a lot of clue that they didn't build it by accident. There's a lot of symmetrical relationships inside. Most people know there are 3 big pyramids in Gizeh, but there are also a number of small ones. Here we see the 3 small ones, next to the smallest big one. This is a top view. Here we see the 3 bigger ones. This is the biggest pyramid. Here we see 3 small ones, and here we see another 3 small ones. And there are more. Here's even one more, and also there's one more. So in total there are 11 pyramids next to the Sphinx. If you look carefully, you can see the Sphinx here, the Great Sphinx. Here we see a map of it. What does it mean? Let's count the small pyramids. Here we find 3, here we find 1, and here we find 4. What does it mean? This means, of course, pi. The pyramid builders were showing us pi. Pi means the ratio between the circumference of a circle and the diameter. So let's draw that circle. Here we see that circle. It exactly hits the northeast corner of the big pyramid, the greatest pyramid. Also here, and the Sphinx is sitting with its bottom on top of the circle. So that can't be a coincidence. But there's more. When we draw a square inside the circle, there's only one square fitting horizontally inside the circle, and that's this one. It goes exactly over the sides of the Great Pyramid and also on the lower side, the south side of the smallest, bigger pyramid. What are the odds? There's more. You can draw a diagonal from this point of the square to this point, and the diagonal goes straight through the middle, exactly through the middle of the middle greatest pyramid. Most people don't know about this point, and that's why they think this one is a little bit offline and that one is totally offline. No, that's not true. It's exactly right. I think this map is not totally correct because the lines I'm drawing are not perfect. I think that in real, this line also goes to the top corner of that pyramid. Because this is a top view, but you can see the picture is taken from here, from the top. So you see a little bit not straight from a top. And this is what we find on Google Maps. Yeah, it's not a perfect match, but you can almost see it. So I think we should take a really good map and then redraw all the lines. When we draw a line from this corner to the bottom of the Sphinx, it goes straight to the middle of the lowest, bigger pyramid. By doing so, we divide the full circle into 1/3 and the other one is 2/3. So that means that this is a side of a perfect triangle. Here we see it. And the other perfect triangle starts in the top pyramid in the northeast corner of the biggest pyramid, of the Great Pyramid. So this is a very ancient symbol. It's a symbol, the seal of Salomo. It's very beautiful that it's present on the Gizeh Plateau. And why is that? Because it's a clock. And the clock goes this way, goes counterclockwise. And the full circle is nearly 26,000 years. This is the moment Leo started. Then it became dark. And this is the moment where Aquarius will start. Then it will be light. So this is the dark period, half a circle, and then a half a circle, a light period. What did they do to help us remind us about this, to help us interpret this clock? They built the Sphinx, the Great Sphinx. What does it mean? This is the body of Leo, of a lion, with the head of Aquarius. That is what we see here. It's very obvious, but we didn't see it for thousands of years.
What is a binary star? Here's how a binary star system works. 2 stars rotate around a center of mass, known as the barycenter. If the 2 objects have equal mass, the size of orbits will be equal. If the 2 have different masses, the lighter star follows a larger path around the barycenter. Binary star systems can exist in double, triple, and quadruple partners, which may even be possible for our Sun. The types of binary partners for our Sun includes another star, a brown dwarf, a black hole. Actually detecting the partner isn't as easy as it sounds. The star sibling could be a difficult to detect brown dwarf. Or it could be another invisible object. Astronomers are only just detecting low magnitude, distant objects. In a binary system with Sirius, our Sun would be the smaller sibling. At 8.6 light-years away, Sirius is 70% larger than the Sun. Sirius isn't a single star but a double binary, and likely triple star system, Sirius C being a still theoretical center of mass. That means Sirius provides at least 2 larger siblings. The visible blue giant we see in the sky is called Sirius A. It has an almost invisible partner known as the white dwarf Sirius B. A white dwarf star has reached a part of its life cycle and collapsed to a very dense form, Sirius B having a density nearly 100,000 times that of our Sun. Both mass and density differences affect the observation of a potential binary system. In a double orbit, our little Sun would have an extremely wide orbit around Sirius A and Sirius B, so wide that we may not yet have developed the technology to detect Sirius as our binary. In the solar system, the planets orbit the Sun, and in the binary star system, the entire solar system orbits Sirius A and Sirius B. For now, there are other ways to detect Sirius as our second Sun.
So what does it actually mean? This is a moment in time. What moment in time? How can we precisely know what moment it was? To help us find that exactly right moment, we have to look at the shafts in the Great Pyramid. And those shafts are aligned to certain stars. It's aligned, of course, to Sirius, the dance partner of Helios. It's aligned to the lowest star in the belly of Orion, and Orion's belt. Sorry, belly belt. And these 2 stars also. We first saw Tuban. We saw in the previous part, Tuban is on the circle of the precession, and also this one is related to the precession cycle. So the pyramid builders chose 4 stars to help us remind about the precession cycle. That's why they did it. The only thing we have to do now is to find the exact moment in time when those stars were perfectly aligned with the shafts inside the Great Pyramid, from the King's Chamber and the Queen's Chamber. And that moment, according to my calculation, is 2309 BC. So we know that this moment is nearly 2300 BC. We just go back in time. We'll do that later. These three pyramids represent, everybody knows that because of the work of Robert Bauval, represent the stars in the belly, in the belt of Orion. And that's exactly what we see. We see here 3 stars horizontal. Yeah? They are horizontal here. What does that mean? That means that the stars of Orion in the belly, in the belt, were rising horizontally. And that was around 11,000 BC. Yeah, we saw them nearly all the same time rising above the horizon. So when we go back 2 times this period, 4,320 years, then we come here. 10,949 BC. That was the moment here. That is when Leo started. So that means that after a period, we are now here. After nearly 13,000 years. This is what we should see now. And that is true. When we take a picture of Orion rising, we see these formation. First one, this rises, then the second one, and then the third one. So that means that this is the current time. And that will be 2012. That is the moment when we hit the light period again. When we go to the age or the eon of Aquarius. So we had 13,000 years of darkness, and then we will have again 13,000 years of light. And that is the message of the pyramid builders. In 2012, the great year spring will start, bringing a bright new day. And that is why all the dark systems we have now, the money system, the control system, all the divide and conquer is going on, all those things will disappear. We will make a full new start. We will reinvent everything and we'll start a new way of living on this planet.
Precession of the equinoxes and the motion of the solar system. One line of evidence for a binary star system is the cause of precession of the equinoxes. Precession is the very slow movement of background stars across the sky. It is like a giant celestial clock that moves over a time period of about 24,000 years. The constellation in which the sun rises at the vernal equinox acts as the hour hand of the clock. Today, the sun rises very close between Pisces and Aquarius. The slow movement of these constellations is the precession of the equinoxes. What causes precession is still considered the lunisolar theory. It is the wobble of the Earth due to the gravity of the Moon and Sun. The dynamic universe model has revealed serious problems with the wobble or lunisolar theory. Newtonian equations that use the lunisolar theory to calculate the rate of precession don't work. They set the movement of the Sun at zero, motionless. However, it's now well known that our solar system is moving. Precession of the equinox is far better explained as a movement of our entire solar system against the background stars. The binary star system helps fix the lunisolar theory. It includes the speed of movement of the Sun, with the motion of the whole solar system that follows. If precession is the movement of the entire solar system, the question remains: what are we orbiting around? Can we now link this orbit to the binary partner Sirius? Precession is the measure of the sunrise against the background of star constellations on the spring equinox. The constellations move like a 12-handed clock across the sky. If Sirius is the Sun's binary partner, like the Sun, it should have no motion against the star background. In other words, Sirius should not precess, as the rest of the star background do. For evidence, we can look at the history of Sirius in the sky. In Egypt, the rise of Sirius on the horizon marked the beginning calendar. For agricultural importance alone, it signals the flooding of the Nile that happens soon after. This method defies observations of precession of stars. Why would Sirius remain in this one spot? Sirius should precess along with the other constellations. That's if it's not in a binary orbit with our Sun. In which case it would stay steady and rise in the same place. If Sirius precesses would not be an inaccurate measurement for the flooding of the Nile. Today, the flooding occurs after the June rainy season in Ethiopia. It's where the Blue Nile rises. Sirius heliacal rising remains a central marker of the year throughout Egyptian history. So, despite precession of the equinoxes, Sirius and the solstice remained locked at the same distance from one another during most of Egyptian history. The Egyptian calendar could be evidence that Sirius is steady in the sky, as a binary partner would be. Today we can calculate the movement of Sirius compared to the precession of the equinox.
Sirius is the brightest star in the sky, and it's been a special star to virtually every ancient culture. I think right here where we are in Hopi land, they called it the Blue Kachina, and the ancient Egyptians referred to it as Isis, which is their #1 god. So it's sort of a magical star from a myth and folklore standpoint, but we've been investigating it from a scientific standpoint, and it has some amazing traits there also. For example, it is the heaviest star in our local neighborhood. The Sirius system, it actually has another little star that goes around it itself called Sirius B.
Mm-hmm.
And together it's about 3 solar masses. So on one of those big Einstein grids, it would be the heavy point, which lends some credence to our idea that our system may go around that, although we still have the classical Newtonian problems. But both from a myth and folklore standpoint and from a scientific standpoint, it seems to have some characteristics that make it look like a companion. I mean, heck, if the brightest star in the sky is our sun, the second brightest star would have a good chance of being our companion. It's been called the dog, the hound, the fox, the wolf, which is, it's all a dog-like character that seems to run across the sky. And indeed, if it was the companion star, it would move relative to other stars. It could be that it always points to Sirius. And this goes against conventional thinking about precession. Precession theory is now that all stars move across the sky at roughly the same rate, 50 arc seconds, due to a wobbling Earth. But if we are indeed in a companion star system, a binary system, there would be one star that would stay relatively the same in comparison to Earth coordinates and yet move across the sky. And there's some, it's just some interesting comments about Sirius over the years, that it's just not moving very much. The ancient Egyptians, used it to keep time. And so it looks like this tiny little shaft, which really only points to about 1 or 2 degrees of sky during the whole precession cycle. So that's 70, 100, 120 years, something like that. Why would they point it to that star during our lifetime?
For us now.
It's like we're on opposite sides of a merry-go-round. So,
yes.
So we, the two horses on the merry-go-round, always stay the same in relationship to each other, whereas everything in the background goes by. According to classical Newtonian mechanics, and the speed that we believe our solar system is moving, in order to get around Sirius and back, it would take over 1 million years. And this is why we so thoroughly explored the dark star scenario in Lost Star Myth and Time, the brown dwarf or black hole idea that, if we are in this binary system, that it should be fairly close. It should be actually only about 1/10 of a light year away in order to get around it in 24,000 years. So, so I don't bring this up with astronomers, astrophysicists very often, but there's a building body of evidence that indicates not only are we gravitationally bound to this star, but that the whole solar system might be going a lot faster than we thought it was.
The Sirius Research Group has studied whether Sirius does indeed move with the Sun. Since 1988, they have recorded the position of Sirius for approximately 20 years. To date, they have recorded no movement in its location relative to the precession of other constellations. Every year, on July 4th, the sunrise at 30 degrees latitude, the Giza Plateau or Memphis, the rise of Sirius can be seen. Throughout history, many accounts have observed Sirius and the Sun locked together. The research looks at the movement of Sirius relative to the position of the Sun, compared to background stars. Sirius is displaced in the same direction, almost exactly. The following graph displays actual measured daily transit readings of Sirius, blue line. It compares this to readings of the precession rate, red line. That's the rest of the stars in the sky. The data is clear evidence that demonstrates that Sirius does not precess.
Ancient cultures all over the world believed in this vast cycle of time with a golden age at one end and a dark age at the other. One precession of the equinox, one eon, one great year that Plato or the Chinese called it. And there's so many references from so many disparate cultures that you have to start to take it seriously. And indeed, when we do look at the archaeological record, we find tremendous amount of evidence of very advanced civilizations in the past. In Mesopotamia, Sumer declines to Akkad, declines to Babylon, declines to dust. Egypt, same thing, it's near its height and goes to dust. And virtually every other culture around the world, including Rome and the Chinese Han Dynasty, are falling about the same time as the Mayan are crumbling over here in the Americas. And then we have this dreadful dark age. I mean, it was getting bad on the way in. And then we're sort of coming out of it now, with a renaissance, a rebirth, and a cycle up. So they all seem to tie it to this precession of the equinox. They keep saying something about the movement of the stars has something to do with it, and one star in particular. And so that's what's really pushed myself and our group to dig into this, to find out what astronomical phenomena actually is driving this rise and fall of the ages, and how does that work. Swami Sri Yukteswar wrote this book in 1894 and said that there's another point, and it's the binary orbit that brings us closer to that other point. And some have called that the seat of Brahma, some the grand magnetic center, the central sun. There's all sorts of little references to it throughout history. And some have said it's the Pleiades. And so that Bible quote is one of my favorites, in that it's possible that as we move in this binary system, now and then, in this 24,000-year cycle, we get close to the Pleiades. It has this sweet influence upon us. And then as the binary system moves us away, we have less of that sweet influence, and we go into the darker ages. The low point of the dark ages we put around 500 AD or so. And so then 1,000 years after the low point, along comes Copernicus, who resurrects it. And I just read a book on Copernicus, the book that nobody read. It's about De Revolute Omnibus. And he had 5 books in his possession. 3 of them were old Greek books. And so Copernicus was resurrecting ancient knowledge. You know, today, if you write a scientific paper, come out with a new theory, you will quote things that came 2 years before, 3 years before, 5 or 10 years before. You don't go back 2,000 years
Right.
for the basis of your theories. You know, I get the question all the time, okay, so we're in a binary system, you know, what's that mean to me here and
Right.
now? And I think it means a lot. We hear so much nowadays about the expansion of consciousness that's going on. And if technology is a proxy, you know, our sheer inventiveness shows you that consciousness is expanding. And there's been 3 or 4 books just come out in the last few years that compare physical reality to virtual reality, or a matrix, or a dream, or a holograph. And there just seems to be more and more people that are very conscious, channeling, psychic, you know, able to move this physical reality with their intention and thought and will. And I see it related. I see this as a part of the ascending age. That, as a matter of fact, the rishis and Yukteswar and others talked about this, that as we move from the dark ages, where we only believe everything is solid and we're just flesh and bones and nothing more, we come into just the first age up, the Dwapara Yuga, where we start to get an understanding of finer forces, and sure enough, we start to realize things are made out of molecules, those are made out of atoms, those are made out of protons, neutrons, electrons, and it's looking like those are made out of energy. And we're realizing more and more, I think, that we are energy. And so it's all connected. Yes, there's a very positive growth in consciousness right now. And sure, we can affect that with our own free will, and you know, those people that do things to tune in can go faster than the norm. But it's almost like the Creator himself just is lifting up the whole world right now to some degree.
Is Sirius our solar system's second sun? Proving that our sun is a binary sibling to Sirius could be one of the biggest finds of the 21st century. The evidence is etched into thousands of years of ancient astronomy and calendar systems. The Gregorian calendar deviates precisely in its start point from the heliacal rise of Sirius. Leap years are a fudging method to stop the drift, but it still happens, and the shift in seasons is now recorded by climate scientists. Today, astronomers have confirmed both theory and observations that support a binary system. Unlike all the other stars in the sky, Sirius does not move against the Sun during the precession of the equinoxes. The 4th of July rise of Sirius may be the precise way to measure the beginning of the year. That's the point in time when the Earth, the Sun, and Sirius all line up together. It occurs during their orbit around a central point. This central point may be a third binary partner, possibly a black hole, but let's leave that for another episode.
As we have turned the corner in the great orbit of our two suns, Sirius and our sun, as we have turned the corner and they are hurtling towards each other now, we have turned the corner from the dark ages. We've come out of the dark period because the suns have been pulled apart and their influence is weakened, and therefore our consciousness has dropped, and we're in the dark ages. Now they're pulling towards each other, bringing us to a higher consciousness. And that's nature. Nature brings us, ascends, helps us, and carries us through the ascension process. So it's all loving. Even though there's chaos and there's fear and anguish and chaotic events occurring around us in our world, even though that is happening, that's really just the remnants of the dark ages. So we've turned the corner. The two suns are hurtling towards each other at great speeds now, and that's the beautiful part of where we are. We've turned the corner, so we're really in just a great time in history to be living. It's just an amazing time. The great changes that we will see with our own eyes will just be stupendous.
From there, our sun and Sirius continue their majestic lonely dance, drifting apart only to then inevitably meet again. This was a brief exploration of the hypothesis that we live in a binary star system, but in future episodes, we'll look at other evidence that Sirius might be our sun's binary partner. Over the past 12,000–13,000 years, most ancient civilizations, from all continents and from different cultures, have worshipped, preserved and transmitted close religious and spiritual ties to the Queen of Heaven and Earth. Unfortunately, today the understanding of the significance of the star Sirius seems to have completely disappeared from the consciousness and interest of the general public, but it remains alive and present, hidden in plain sight in religion, symbols, fine arts and architecture, including in modern and contemporary culture, under all its multiple aspects.
In the book of Daniel of the Bible, it says that in this time many will come to an accurate knowledge of the truth, and they will whiten their robes, and they will turn to the truth. But it also mentions that many will just go off into the darkness and continue on the path of darkness. The more one loves and finds unity in this world and harmony, the more the blessings will be when that time comes. All shall benefit on different levels. Even the unawakened will benefit, because that's how the universe elevates souls.